I am one of Didi Ma Shivani's disciples, Sadak Devasheesh. I will be reading a few parts written by Didi Ma in this video as well. One fantastic trait among the God realized is that some of them develop an incredible sense of humor. Ma has had it even in her pre-yogic days, and it definitely must have gotten sharpened by the inner bliss one experiences within. I recall few incidences. She had become ill and had to be hospitalized for a few days. Upon her return to the ashram, she narrated to us how in the hospital she shared a room with another patient, who was astonished to see how many different people she continued to have visiting her every day. After about the 10th visitor, finally she plucked up the courage and asked, "Who are all these people?" "They are all my children," Ma answered. Then without missing a beat she added, "But they all have a different father." We burst out laughing. At times, as the mail arrived, Ma would allow it to have letters addressed to her read aloud. Times beyond counting, before a letter could be opened or read out, she would remark about the gist of the message within, and every time she would be right on the dot. For example, she would proclaim, "Oh, X is ill," or "Y is under a cloud and wants blessings." And exactly that's what the contents of the letters would be. But the last piece of mail came with a cherry on top. Ma had smilingly observed, "Someone is being silly here." As the letter was read out, our eyes filled with tears, laughing as the doofus expressed his desire that she marry him in his next life. His demand that his desire be fulfilled left us all rolling with laughter. She would even share funny anecdotes at times. She once related how Shakti said to Shiva, "Lord, there is a person on earth who is never ever happy. In all your great wisdom, can you change it?" Shiva said, "I doubt it, though would like to try it considering your concern for him." And so, the man was invited to visit Shiva's abode. From the moment he arrived, all his wants and needs were immaculately taken care of by many who served him. He was provided each everything he could possibly desire or dream of. After some time, Shiva eventually asked, "Is this whole shebang to your liking? With such lavish treatment as you've received, are you pleased?" Nonchalantly looking back at Shiva, the man replied, "Not really." And when he was asked why, he responded, "Things are just a bit too perfect here." We laughed and also realized the truth about most people. There is a concealed trait within us that wishes not to acknowledge or be grateful for all that is being done for us or given to us. Laughter around Ma was plentiful, but existed hidden behind it was a pattern of spiritual growth the real ashrams provide. Ma would say at times, "People come here and profess to me, 'I am nothing, I am nothing, Ma.' It doesn't take a bright mind to see the huge egos lying secretly behind their proclamation of nothingness. Otherwise, why do you want me to pay attention to it?" If one becomes relatively less egoistic, it will be evident in his conduct.
Some mornings, I would be alone in Ma's sitting room, listening to the Gurubani in Punjabi, played on the ashram speaker, while Ma herself would still be in her room. Even though I come from a Punjabi family, I had a minimal understanding of this particular language. Whatever little I understood of the heart-rending spirituality of the Gurubani, it used to throw me into an entirely different world. Later, I'd ask Ma for the meaning of certain words. Those pieces of prayers I still remember well. For example, this one. I so naturally have omitted all concerns about others' views or impressions of me ever since I found the company of true beings. No one is my adversary nor enemy. I look upon everyone without any distinction. Whatever divine does, I accept it on bended knees as my highest good. This is what I have culled from the sublime wisdom of the great beings, realizing that one God pervades all, and beholding Him everywhere, Nanak blossoms forth in bliss. Whatever divine does, I accept it on bended knees as my highest good. This is what I have culled from the sublime wisdom of the great beings, realizing that one God pervades all, and beholding Him everywhere, Nanak blossoms forth in bliss. To be sure, despite the truth and wisdom, one also needs to keep one's common sense awakened. Though it is all water, some water is tainted with sewage. One doesn't drink in what sewage has to offer. Divine beings always act with their common sense functioning flawlessly. It is imperative to protect one's psychic being, soul within, from the onslaughts of the mental and vital being, and the mental and vital being of others equally. To patiently accept ill treatments from others because your path is spiritual not only depicts weakness but stupidity. These are some of the tenets of the spiritual path one imbibes by being in the ashram of a truly enlightened guru.
A master once spoke to his disciples, explaining the truth of all living creatures, saying, "All is divine. This is the ultimate truth you all will have to realize one day or the other." Later that day, the disciples were in the market making some purchases for the ashram when an uproar ensued. "Please get away now," said a frantic passerby. "An elephant is running amok down the street and is coming this way." Everyone hastily moved out of the path of the charging beast. However, one of the disciples thought to himself, "Well, what is there to fear? Is there no God in the elephant as well?" So he chose to not step aside. As the elephant approached him, he found himself being picked up by the huge beast and was thrown and thrashed on the road with a bang. He was picked up and brought back to the ashram by his friends. Lying in a broken state, when he finally opened his eyes, he looked into the eyes of his guru and asked, "Sir, why did God give me such a thrashing?" "Why didn't you move out of the path of a mad elephant?" the guru questioned. "Why should I?" said the disciple. "The elephant has God within just as I do." "Indeed," said the master. "But then why did you not listen to God's warning from the people who asked you to move out of the way?" Common sense and sense of discernment, called vivek in Sanskrit, is something essential that all aspirants must keep alive within their minds and hearts under all circumstances. The great truth that no one is indispensable in the grand scheme of things is another realization one gets by being in the company of the holy. I remember how my guru, who mostly was affectionate, once came out of his room and without any ado said harshly, "I would like you to change your present company to a company befitting a spiritual aspirant." And he went back to his room with alacrity. Taken by surprise, I admit, I didn't get his drift. Then a person who had accompanied Baba stepped forward and said to me kindly, "I think he was implying the company of your uncle. He had come with me as a guardian to the ashram, and I had always thought him to be an extraordinary person and a brilliant mind." The explanation had me dismayed. How am I to do this? Everyone I knew was fond of this person and thought highly of him.
I digress here to quote a somewhat similar occurrence Dadaji once had. Said he, "I was telling Indira about the deep pain some of my old friends had caused me. Mira Ji, speaking through Ma, said, there was a boy who was very fond of a ring which he wore constantly on his little finger without ever taking it off. As years passed by, he grew up until one day the ring began to hurt him. He made many attempts to take the ring off, but failed each time. He had no choice and was forced to consult a goldsmith. "There is only one thing to be done, sir," said the goldsmith. "You must have the ring cut off." The boy was aghast. "But to throw away such a lovely ring?" The other smiled. "I understand your reluctance, sir. Take note, however, that as the ring has not grown with the finger, you may choose to keep it on, but only at your own peril, since it may result in irreparable damage to your finger. After all, you must agree that the finger is more important than the ring, is it not?" The boy made a wry face. "But even cutting it out now must hurt my poor finger, mustn't it?" The goldsmith raised his eyebrows. "But how can that be avoided now? Everyone has to pay for his folly. Had you discarded it in time, you should have been spared all this trouble." "When one grows up," Mira went on, "one is often enough confronted by this experience of having to cut old ties. This causes pain, for then one must find at every step old habits and old friends that must be disowned, which inevitably hurts, for the simple reason that one gets attached to and gripped by what one has lived long with. The truth is, no one, absolutely no one, is indispensable in this world or in one's life. One may believe so, but the fact remains that life goes on even when the most cherished in life is no more. Death snatches left and right all and everything a person deems absolutely necessary. And yet, a few days or weeks later, the dictates of life take over. Only if we remembered life has its own way of fulfilling itself, and that it has any number of alternatives. One learns such valuable lesson only in ashrams reigned by the truth. The following prayer from Guru Bani that gets recited every day during evening prayers by Ma's disciples makes it amply clear the place of a genuine guru in your life. "I did not appreciate what you have done for me, my lord. Only you can change it by making me somewhat thankful. I know how unworthy and without any virtues I am. I can be helped only by your unconditional compassion, my lord. As your gaze of compassion fell on me, I found my true guru, my friend, and my well-wisher rolled into one forever. Says Nanak, if I receive the Naam, its mantra, if I receive the Naam now, I shall live truly and blossom forth in all my aspects, soul, mind, and body. Sometimes Ma used to ask us to sit by her on her couch. We invariably felt very self-conscious about obeying this request, but none of us would ever disobey her. One day, she had me next to her and spoke lovingly. Ever since you mentioned the psychic being, I have come to know that you understand me. While gazing at her, I smiled faintly in answer. What else could I do with the witty comment she had just made? On another night, while sitting with her, I heard her say with verve, "Come on, let's both of us run away to the Himalayas." "I'm ready, Ma," I answered in the same spirit, looking at her. There was such a clear shadow of detachment swimming in her eyes. I felt, here is someone who belongs elsewhere, but she has to be in our world at present. Undoubtedly, she knew in her heart of heart that in this particular life she will have to play the part of a guru. Regardless of the fact that her body was a house full of various diseases that often vied to manifest one after another, her grip on the karma yoga, the yoga of action, was perfect. It was executed by her with full awareness, without any complaints to the divine. Everything was accepted by her with her favorite gratefulness and surrender. Karne wale ne jo kiya, bhala kiya, bhala kiya. The doer of all actions always does whatever is best for me, whatever is best for me. Please note her emphasis on the doer of all actions. This is the substance of the yoga of action. Let us learn from Sri Aurobido's description of yoga first. Yoga is a generic name for any discipline by which one attempts to pass out of the limits of one's ordinary mental consciousness into a greater spiritual consciousness. All great beings act from this greater spiritual consciousness. All the rest act differently. A Sufi has observed, I saw a wall lizard laying on its back. That was odd, as they are always clinging to the walls. I asked it, Are you not well? It replied, I'm fine, but ever since I've been holding the sky, I'm afraid to change my position because if I do, I fear the sky will fall. Perhaps this is how we appear in the larger picture of things. A lizard puffed up with self-importance, with all fours pointed toward the sky, professing to hold the weight of the heavens.
When people came requesting Ma to help them with their various physical ailments, she at times would ask them to go and collect some leaves from under a particular tree in the ashram, boil them in water, and drink that tea. To us, she confided, there was a phase when she used to see Hanumanji in her visions. Hanuman, a self-realized yogi of various powers, and the humble devotee of Sri Ram. He would climb up a particular tree and sit there for a while. He would pluck leaves from it and throw them on the ground. So, when people came seeking a cure from their diseases, she would guide them to collect such powerful leaves, and in taking them, they were getting cured, or at least found some relief. This phenomenon continued for a long time.
These miraculous healings are but one example of her work. There is an incident mentioned in her book that is also worthy to note. One of Ma's near relatives had gone through some kind of serious surgery. During her recovery, she started to feel unwell soon after. She was scanned again to see if all was well and if she was healing. When they found that inadvertently some surgical gauge was accidentally left inside her body and it would have to be removed again by another surgery, Ma visited with her in the hospital. The patient was scared at the prospect of going through another imminent procedure. Ma held her hand, asking her to relax and surrender entirely to Sri Krishna. She then closed her eyes and went within. By request, the patient was x-rayed again, and by the miracle of miracles, upon observing the x-ray, they found nothing inside her. It was as if the gauge detected before had evaporated into thin air. And yet, her humility would never allow her to say more than, whatever little I've been given, I wish to spend judiciously, not for myself, but for others. Though it is never little, this is how greatness speaks.